And then finally we're going to talk about the objectives on the map. There are seven main objectives on the map. And they are the red buff, which is if you kill the large lizard in the jungle, you gain the red buff, which will give your auto attacks a little bit of a slow and a little bit of extra damage that ticks away, a little bit of a damage over time, or DOT effect to them. If you get the blue buff, it will increase your cooldown reduction by, I believe it's 20%, and it will increase your mana or energy production by a certain amount that's based on your maximum mana, as well as a flat amount. So that's very good for casters who rely on their abilities and have to be throwing out lots of abilities that typically use a lot of mana. Thirdly, you have the dragon. The dragon is in the bottom half of the map, and it takes some effort to kill, but I mean, if you're high up enough, one person can kill it alone. It doesn't give you any buffs, but what it does do is it gives you 190 gold to every member of your team. And so it's very important to have dragon control, which is sort of a concept that means like I can respond if the enemy team is trying to kill the dragon, and I can prevent them from responding if I'm trying to take the dragon. So that's the idea of dragon control. We'll get into that in another later episode. Fourth, and perhaps most importantly of the neutral monsters certainly, is the Baron. Baron Nashor. He's located in the top half of the map, sort of on the opposite end from the dragon. The dragon's on the bottom, on the left half, and the Baron is on the top, on the right half. But they're very close in both senses to the middle of the map, and so in essence they are in the middle. However, the Baron is a much bigger deal than the dragon, and it typically takes 4 to 5 champions from one team to kill the Baron without him destroying you in return. But if you manage to kill the Baron, your whole team gets 300 gold each, and you get this amazing buff that gives you increased damage in both ability power and attack damage, and it gives you crazy health regeneration over time as well. And so a team with Baron buff has a huge advantage over a team that does not have Baron buff, and only one team can have the Baron buff at a time. So those are the 4 neutral objectives on the map, and they can be taken by either team in any location, and these are often swinging points in the map. If you early in the game, taking a buff is a big, taking one of the blue or red buffs can be a really big deal. Later in the game, you're going to talk about taking dragons, and the team that has more dragons has certainly an edge over the other team. And then finally, the Baron is the biggest deal in the late game. And I mean, so many games have been won based on one team controlling that Baron buff and using it to its maximum advantage. So those are the 4 neutral objectives. Now we're talking about the 3 non-neutral objectives. And number 1 is the towers. There are 3 towers in every lane, and 2 at the enemy nexus. And they get stronger as they go up the lane. They do more damage, they have more health, they have more armor, and well, I don't think they have magic resist, technically. So they just have armor because you can't use magic damage really on them. I'll have to look that up. I'll get back to you on that one. But towers. So there are 3 in every lane, and to kill a tower gives your whole team experience and 150 gold. So taking a tower is a big deal as well. It's very similar to taking a dragon, and a dragon for a tower is generally considered a pretty even trade in pro level games. The next one, which is beyond the first 2 towers, actually behind the first 3 towers, is something called an inhibitor. And if you kill the inhibitor the first time, you get 50 gold. The person who actually inflicts the last hit, gets 50 gold. And then that lane starts to produce what are called super minions, and these things are big, they got a lot of health, they got a lot of armor and magic resistance, they're very difficult to kill, and they deal a lot of damage, and they just sort of push down the lane. And so if you can take out an inhibitor, you can pretty much leave your lane alone, because the enemy team is really not going to be able to push your lane back to an extent. So controlling and destroying inhibitors is a really big deal in the late game when you're trying to push for victory, because it allows you to focus on the other lanes and achieve objectives while your enemy has to sit back on the defensive and protect their base. So after one of the 3 inhibitors is dead, you can then attack the 2 Nexus towers, and then after the Nexus is the final objective, or after the Nexus towers is the final objective, which is the Nexus. And when you kill the Nexus, you win the game. And it's as simple as that. So we talked about the seven, I can count, honestly. We talked about the 7 objectives on the map, and we've talked a little bit about some other things. The main things, I think, the main concepts that are important. If you don't know, if you find another term that I didn't list here, or that you think is important, if you want to ask me in person, you can go to LeagueLearning, all lowercase, at gmail.com. You can send me an email there and I'll answer it in person, or you can go to the League of Legends Wikipedia and you can look up, because they have a nice, very extensive glossary of terms. If you can't find it there, please, by all means, feel free to ask a more experienced player or to ask myself, and I will do my best to answer you. That really concludes episode 1 of episode 1, League Lingo, of LeagueLearning. And I hope this has been informative to you. Keep an eye out for episode 2, which is player positions, where I'll talk more in depth about those positions I mentioned briefly earlier, and where they fit into the game and what they do. So keep an eye out for that one. I hope this was good for you. If it was, please like or favorite or do something positive. Send me an email saying, hey, I really liked this. This is what I wanted to see. I take suggestions. I take criticisms, as long as they're not, just stupid flaming. So, again, good to have you. Hope this is a success, and it's all up to you. So until next episode, keep on owning, guys. See you later.